Find a comfortable position. Take a slow breath in and let it out. These affirmations are for women who grew up without the father they needed, not just physically, but emotionally. The father who should have made you feel safe in the world, proud of yourself, and certain that you were worth protecting. If that wasn't what you received, this is for you. You don't need to believe every word right now. Just let them in. I am allowed to grieve the father I needed and never had. I am allowed to name what was missing, even if no one in my family ever did. I am allowed to feel the weight of that loss, even if the people around me never acknowledged it as one. His inability to show up for me was never a reflection of my value. It was a reflection of his limitations. I release the part of me that spent years trying to finally be enough to earn his attention, his pride, his presence. I was always enough. The problem was never me. I release the inner critic that speaks in his voice, the one that says I am too much, not enough, or that my needs are a burden. That voice is not the truth. It is an old wound talking. I am learning to talk back to that voice with something kinder and more honest. I am learning to feel safe in the world without needing a man's protection or approval to access that safety. I am building that sense of security from within on my own terms. I release the belief that I need to earn my place in any room, in any relationship, in any space I choose to occupy. I have the right to take up space simply because I exist. I release the pattern of going small around authority, of second-guessing myself in the presence of people who remind me of him. My voice is valid. My opinions matter. I do not need anyone's permission to speak. I am allowed to disagree with people in positions of power without bracing for punishment. I am healing the part of me that learned to associate love with inconsistency, with having to work for it, with never quite being sure it would stay. I am learning to recognize that consistency is what love actually looks like, and I deserve it. I release the pattern of choosing emotionally unavailable people because unavailability felt familiar. Familiar is not the same as right. I am allowed to want a love that is steady, present, and not conditional on my performance. I release the compulsive need to prove myself to people who are not paying attention. That chapter is closing. I no longer need to earn love through achievement, usefulness, or shrinking my needs to make others comfortable. I am healing the wound that made me distrust my own ambitions, that made me ask permission before wanting something for myself. I am allowed to want things. I am allowed to pursue them without apology. I do not need his blessing, real or imagined, to move forward with my life. I trust my own judgment, even when I was taught to defer, to doubt, to wait for someone else to confirm what I already knew. I am the authority on my own life. I validate my own reality, even when I was taught to question it, even when he rewrote what happened, even when the family story erased what I actually experienced. What I lived through was real. My memory of it is real. I am releasing the hypervigilance I developed around his moods, his silences, his unpredictability. I do not need to monitor the emotional weather of every room I walk into anymore. I am learning to feel safe when things are calm, instead of waiting for something to go wrong. I am learning to stop scanning for danger in people who have not given me any reason to fear them. I release the fear of abandonment that lives underneath so many of my decisions, the fear that says if I ask for too much, they will leave. The right people will not leave because I have needs. Needs are not a threat to real love. I am no longer willing to disappear myself to keep someone close. I am allowed to ask for what I need, clearly and without shame. I am healing my relationship with men, with authority figures, with anyone who holds power, understanding that not everyone will use it against me. I am allowed to trust carefully and slowly. I am allowed to take my time. I am allowed to test safety before I open myself up. That is wisdom, not damage. I release the anger I have been carrying in my body, the anger that had nowhere to go when I was young. I am allowed to be angry. That anger makes complete sense. It was always a reasonable response to an unreasonable situation. And I am also allowed to put it down when I am ready, at my own pace, in my own time. I am no longer waiting for an apology that may never come before I give myself permission to heal. Forgiveness, if and when it comes, is something I do for myself. It does not mean what happened was acceptable. Both things can be true. I loved him, and he let me down. I wanted his presence, and I am healing his absence. I do not have to choose between loyalty to him and honesty about what happened. I am setting boundaries with him and with anyone who treats me the way he did, not out of punishment, but out of self-respect. My boundaries are valid, even when they are not understood, even when they are called selfish, even when they are met with silence. I am reparenting myself with the steadiness and protection I never had from him. I am becoming the safe, consistent presence in my own life that I needed him to be. I am learning to follow through on my own promises to myself, to show up for myself the way he did not. I am learning to receive care from people who actually offer it without suspicion, without waiting for the catch. I am allowed to let good people in. Not everyone will disappoint me the way he did. I am breaking the cycle, not with perfection, but with awareness and one honest choice at a time. I am allowed to build a life that looks nothing like the one I inherited. I honor every version of myself that survived. The girl who became fiercely independent too young, who learned to need nothing from anyone, who kept going without being cheered on. She was extraordinary, and she deserved so much more than she was given. I carry my history, but I am not defined by his absence or his failures. My story does not end with what he could not give me. It continues with what I am building for myself. I am not alone in this. So many women carry this wound, and so many women are healing it. I am not broken. What I feel makes complete sense, and I deserve to heal.